Well, hello. It is Mike Matthews talking with a calm, sensible, soft voice today at the beginning of episode 2248. This episode was originally supposed to be episode 2247, but then the week got very busy and crazy and unmanageable and out of control, and so I had to push it after episode 2247, which was busy, which was yesterday. So technically we are back to being a daily podcast again, yet this podcast happened earlier in the week. So we're actually going forward and then backward simultaneously. So enjoy the podcast. And if I mention episode 2247 saying that this is what this is, I am wrong. It is actually 2248. With that, let's start singing a song together called Cafe Anyway. Cafe Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I am Mike Matthews, and I am broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
This is a show that I do, and I do it sometimes from this place. My name's not Grimes, because Grimes is someone that's dating a billionaire, and she's like much too young for him, don't you think? That's kind of weird. But yes, I'm on this microphone.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That I'm not typically on, so I'm a little bit frazzled, a little bit out of sorts, but that's all right, because we'll do the show that's called
Mike's
Daily Podcast.
Daily.
Okay, it's called Mike's
Podcast.
Daily Podcast, that's right.
Yeah!
Okay, so you might be saying, Mike, what are you doing? What's going on? Why are you doing this and all that stuff? Well, it's been a busy couple of days, everybody. I had on Saturday, I had a really wonderful podcast that I did with you. Then we had this little thing called a new radio station that we launched in the fine city of Richmond. But actually, it was a station that was already there. So, but we were taking it over and doing it our way, and it involved a lot of software and technology and whatnot, and moving stuff around and typing in a lot of numbers, using computer screens, and using font that was really tiny that I couldn't make any larger. But then I just found out today I could have made it larger using a special bit of software that creates like a magnifying glass that allows you to see certain things. But the big news is that today, of all days, I decided I'm going to come back to work. I'm actually going to walk into the building and work. And for some of you, some of you have been already at work. Nothing's changed. But it is very interesting if you wants kissing scene next. What is this? I don't know what this is.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Oh, it has to do with that dancer, YouTube personality person. And why did I even... Okay, so the podcast picture today is fantastic. I'm going to tell you what it is as soon as this computer decides to let me open it up and check here. Let's see. I think we'll go with the picture from... How about the cat, the feral cat, Will Ferrell cat that we're currently watching and trying to make sure that we're gonna... That's right, Basil, a cat. He heard me right. That's right, Basil. Well, maybe we won't do that podcast picture. Maybe of this fantastic moon picture. Basil loved the moon as well. By the way, that recording was taken back in 2018, I believe it was, and he was barking at bats. And did you hear today about the vampire bats that may be migrating in from Mexico? And they're vampire bats, and they like to suck the blood of cows. And they're afraid they're going to give cows rabies. So that's going to make hamburger meat more expensive, and just make the world a much better place, it would appear. So yes, back to what was the... Okay, so the podcast picture will be of this wonderful little spot of... how about the nice sunset yesterday? That's what we'll do. Nice Podcastro Valley sunset. You can see it at mikesdailypodcast.com. We were broadcasting from Podcastro Valley and Cafe Anyway, the last place on earth. And we been busy. And you know what? I think the question today was like, what is the best way to deal with now as we're all heading back to work? Maybe a lot of us are. Joins senior year? Who is this? It's some sort of blonde is joining senior year. What is that? Oh, Alicia Silverstone returns to her high school comedy roots and joins the cast of in the comedy movie Senior Year. Okay. Alicia Silverstone, very much into not eating any meat. Is she a vegan? I think she's pretty popular for that. Was in the video for Crying with Aerosmith and was in Batman and Robin playing Batgirl. Remember that? And I'm Clueless, of course. So, back to this wonderful show that we were doing. Dealing with crowds. Now we're starting to deal with crowds once again. How to deal with large crowds. Define an emergency plan. An emergency plan is a wise consideration regardless of crowd size or your own familiarity with the other. Prepare ahead. There's a fine line between preparation and paranoia. How to deal with crowd. So if you, let's check in with the anxiety guru and see what anxiety guru says. One of the most common fears of anxiety sufferers is being stuck in a huge crowd. And, you know, we didn't really have to deal with it too much with the whole staying at home thing. But now we're starting to go back to work. There's a couple of tips that anxietyguru.net gives. One is breathe. Take several deep breaths. Remember, you'll be in public, so there's no need to draw attention to yourself. Take it easy. Breathe in and out slowly. Take a moment to purposefully relax your mind and body. Take note of your thought patterns. If you find yourself saying things like, oh no, what if, or any other negative thought pattern, stop it. Redirect your thoughts away from the negative. Don't deal with the what if, deal with the right now. There you go, the profoundness of that sentence, the profundity, the profundness. If you're not actually having a heart attack, don't think about one. Use positive self-talk. Literally tell yourself that you are fine, you are safe, not in danger, it will pass. Accept your thoughts and feelings, don't fight it. You have to relax and flow with the nervous feelings, with the anxiety. This will give you a chance to rest mentally as we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Oh, Podcastro Valley Mont today, that's right. Be patient. If you do that and wait anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, you should be good enough to continue on. Once you regain your composure, move on with the day. Don't start talking about it and by extension give the event more significance than is actually needed. That's very helpful. Thank you. How to manage crowds at events. Well, we weren't really asking about that, but yes, that's a whole other thing. But we're going to deal more and more with crowds, so that's why I bring it up. Because of that. Also, I realized today that, one thing I don't really like, of course, about driving, about going back to work is the driving, is what I'm saying. So, but I guess that's going to be part of life now, dealing with the commute again. And dealing with the, but they say it is good though too, because you put work behind you. You leave it in the office. And the moon will be bigger and redder as 3 celestial events line up at the same time. Oh, that was the the first lunar eclipse. Maybe I'll have a podcast picture from that. If we had all kinds of moon activity lately. All right, that's all I got. Hey, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Look who's here.
Hello, Michael Master. It's Madame Rue, the big owns. That's great. You're going back to work. Oh.
Yeah, and I'm all vaccinated. Most of the people I work with are vaccinated. We're happy about that. You know what? I'm not going to do the podcast picture that I thought I was going to do with the sunset thing from yesterday. I think I'm going to go with the moon because the last podcast picture was of a nice sunset in Podcastro Valley.
Okay, Michael Master. It's very great. Oh.
Do you think you like podcast pictures with the moon?
Yes.
Do you like this podcast?
Yes.
Do you want to say anything else?
No.
Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parenting attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, thanks for telling us what to do about crowds there.
Yeah. Craig. Do you know that?
Thanks, guys. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer. Tell me what you think about all of this. 336mm daily. 3 + 3 = 6mm is a Mike Matthews daily, isn't what this podcast has not been recently, but we'll try and get back into the rhythm of it. You just never know, day to day, right? It's just going to be whatever. And that's why you love this podcast so much. Okay, and with more about how to contact me, it's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
My, that was such a fun episode, which was actually FF episode 2248, and Mike Matthews talking ever so softly. And we were supposed to have Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer, and look who's here. Hello, Mike Matthews. I am also talking softly. And this is Floyd the Floorman. I am talking softly too. And it's John Deere the engineer. I always talk softly. Excellent. Well, that took care of that quota of having them on. Next show, it's going to be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster, and we'll be a little bit more lively. To catch all past podcasts and podcast pictures, please go to mikesdailypodcast.com.